Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey Gualandi. Welcome to the Women's Eye podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. On the Women's Eye, we shine the spotlight on ordinary women doing extraordinary things. This episode of our Building Money Power podcast series is brought to you by CASCO Financial Group in Phoenix, Arizona. CASCO's president, Catherine Scrivano, started her business to help people create the financial strength to achieve their dreams. And Catherine joins me right now on the Women's Eye. Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to finally see you. I will soon, maybe in person one day, but you're in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas. So how's the weather? Pretty good. It's 70s here.
Whatever temperature it is right now is exactly my favorite temperature.
Exactly. I know.
It's gorgeous.
Double digits. But well, I just want to say that in order to keep building money power, our chat today is how to get comfortable when having those uncomfortable conversations about money, health, and end-of-life decisions. And Catherine is here to share the ways we can make these conversations less awkward. Now, this is something that I am going through right now, Catherine, and have had to go through. You've probably dealt with it. Maybe you're dealing with it now. And I imagine everybody has to deal with this at some point, right?
It seems quite inevitable. I think that the reason that we have such a passion for encouraging people to do it sooner rather than later is dealing with these topics while in panic mode or while grieving or under other kinds of stress tends to lead to poor decisions or sometimes family breakups that just can never be undone. All of those things that could have made that time that's already hard a little less hard had it been dealt with in the beginning.
No, the first time this really came to light for me was 14 years ago when my dad passed away. And I think he was in denial, but he kind of dealt with all the money. And after that, my mom was just lost. And at that point, I said, this is something that I need to do for myself and my friends, and, to really kind of get on top of this stuff before it becomes an after the fact situation. Is that the most difficult? Why do people have so much trouble with this? Why did my dad have trouble with this?
Yeah, there are as many reasons as there are people. I think that the consistent theme, though, is we have to acknowledge vulnerability or mortality. It seems silly to say if we don't talk about it, it won't happen.
Yeah,
But
it's
it
like
kind of
we
feels
feel like we're
that
going to
way,
jinx it
doesn't
or
it?
something, right?
Yeah, yeah. And frankly, our life experience to this point is that works.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it, therefore we haven't become disabled. We didn't pass away, all of those things. So kind of reinforces, but the reality, like your mom went through, I'm so sorry that she did. We've seen this in our practice so many times, and that's why we have made it a critical part of our practice to just nudge people to do the uncomfortable conversations because it matters.
Who has the most trouble? Is it the spouses? Is it the parent child? Because I'm doing this with my mom, trying to make sure we're all on the same page, that we have everything prepared. Who's having the most trouble when it comes to having these conversations?
It's hard to identify who has the most challenges, though I think there's some consistent themes between partners. A lot of times there's a defensiveness built in. So
Mhm.
if I want to have this conversation, it implies that I think you spend too much money or that you
Yeah.
don't spend it wiser. So sometimes there's a control or a power dynamic that is underlying the challenges around these conversations. Between parents and children, a lot of times it's kind of a matter of independence and respect. We as parents don't want to be burdened to our children,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to be disrespectful to our parents, implying maybe we're anxious to know who gets to inherit that thing and why did you choose them and not me?
Yeah,
Or
and then
uh,
it's the
yeah,
battles begin, right?
yeah, Yeah, it can be a bit, like I say, it's a kind of a matter of respect sometimes. And even as myself, the parents of very capable adult children, I don't want to imply that they've got to take care of me at some point, or that there are things that they're going to have to do for me, because I'm still their mom. So I should be in charge, right? I should be caring for them. So it kind of disrupts some of the natural flow we might otherwise have, take for granted.
When is the best time to start these conversations? Because, I've heard talk that you should really start thinking about getting a will in your 30s and those kinds of things. Is there a best time?
Not that it's a matter of age, but of life circumstance. So you said something that in my mind is the key to this whole topic. You said conversations, plural. This is not a one and done, we get to check the box and move on, never to revisit. As our life circumstances change, uh, if you have children, I feel very strongly, very, very strongly that you need some basic estate planning documents in place. Those documents are going to dictate who will raise your children if you're not here, also who will take care of any money that would come to your children. And I'm talking about minor kids, children under the age of 21. But the person who cares for your children and the person who cares for the children's money, those are two different skill sets, and they may not be solved by naming the same person. In some cases, that's appropriate. In other cases, you want to be sure that the person who is handling the money won't forget where they left the kids. Maybe that's somebody else that you put in charge of that. So that 30-year-old with minor children, by all means, definitely needs some documents and needs to inform the people that they have named that they have been so named, and make sure that they get their consent to do so.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, my aunt, I think she's changed her will like 25 times, and it's very humorous, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a family joke, but at least she's very conscious,
Uh-huh.
of this, and being able to be on top of her estate, but so, how do you frame the conversations so that you make it less awkward? Because you can't just go boom right in, right? And say, let's talk about, who
Yeah,
gets
you
what.
can, but I expect probably there'll be a shutdown. We have a lot of suggested conversation starters. The first thing that has to happen is you have to decide this is an undertaking for you, that you want to reach out to, say, your parents, to ask them what their plans are, or perhaps you want to reach out to your children and tell them what your plans are. So, identifying your intent is the first thing. Some of the conversation starters, though, are really kind of out there for us in just pointing to others. You might say, do you think that Aunt so and so's wishes were honored at the end of her life? And that response could lead to, well, I wonder, have you made plans? And if so, have you documented them? And do the people who need to know what your plans are, do they have that documentation available to them? Or you might share your own experience, saying that you have created your own documents, or you're thinking through your intentions and would love their input. So just a very general, not necessarily to the point, but kind of an accessory conversation. One of the things that we love to nudge clients with are celebrity estates. Whether or not the information is accurate, I have no way of knowing. But it seems to me that within a day of someone famous passing away,
Yep.
the news and the media are talking about the kids that they disinherited, or the people who are claiming to be a relative, or there were 8 versions of the will and some unsigned, and all of those kinds of things. You can point to that kind of chaos and say, boy, let's see how that could be avoided,
Yeah.
and
It's so
just
surprising.
starting those conversations.
It's so surprising too when you think about that. The person that made me think I thought of is Prince. You know,
Uh-huh.
he didn't have an estate, and yeah, can you imagine what it must be like for someone
Oh
like
my goodness.
that?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And I always am surprised by the number of people who claim to be related
yeah,
when someone famous passes
they
away.
start coming out of
If
the woodwork, right? Yeah,
right, right, yeah. Yeah,
no,
and again, some of the reports are probably unsubstantiated. I have really no way of knowing, but it really is a great opportunity to start conversations about something where we have no involvement, no skin in the game. You can't be worried about offending or having to defend what this famous person has done, but it can lead us to bringing those topics into our own lives.
is there are there a few don'ts, or is there a number one don't in terms of how to bring up this subject matter with family members?
The thing I think is the biggest one is that don't claim to have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I think posing the question and seeing how the other person feels, what their thoughts are on the topic. I'm certainly not objective in what I'm about to say, but I feel like it's true, is involving a professional, having a financial consultant or an attorney or someone who works in this field bring the conclusions and the answers to the table, but you raise the questions. You don't claim to know what the solutions are, but talking about the topics and uh, identifying that you know that these are concerns and that you are asking that person for their information so that you can best serve them if they need your help.
Well, that's true, and obviously too, you have tools that you use as well,
Mhm.
as a company, as a financial consultant too. That, it's like, let's not keep these things a secret, I think, is one of them too. So, are there other tools that you help to with your clients?
We actually have two very specific programs. One is called Don't Keep It a Secret, and that identifies who needs to know, what they need to know, and when they need to know it. And we help them create a document that perhaps you're willing to give your family members or significant other just absolutely unlimited and unrestricted access to information. Or perhaps you have certain things that you would only like made available to them under certain circumstances. And this way you can define the access and let them know where to find what they need to know. So, for instance, if you had a healthcare issue, you were not able to make healthcare decisions for yourself, where is a healthcare power of attorney, the actual document kept? Is it in a safe deposit box? Is it in your desk drawer? Wherever you keep it. We're not going to argue with you about your system. I certainly have opinions, but I'll keep them to myself.
Yeah.
But it's more important, I think, that you document whatever your system is so that when the time comes and those things are needed, the people who need the information can have access to it. That's been just a terrific tool in our practice. We've used it for many, many years, and we make it part of our annual review to capture if clients have moved documents or changed who they want to have information shared with. And then the other one that we do is called My Spouse Always Handled the Money. And this sounds like something that your mom would have been helped by in determining what the issues are, what they should be looking at, what considerations there are in the immediate instance, and of course going forward. And it's very interesting that when we started that program many, many years ago, was actually even at the very start, it was called My Husband Always Handled the Money. That
It's,
was who was listening to us. They tended to be widows who had never written a check. Now, of course, things are so much more broad, thank goodness. But
yes.
in a lot of households, it's a division of labor. One person is taking care of managing the yard work, and the other person is taking care of paying the electric bill. If the person managing the artwork is not here, chances are very good it wouldn't be hard to replace that. But when the lights go out and the person at home has no idea who to pay or how to pay, that's harder. And multiply that by so many things, especially again, this is always during a time of grief or stress.
Yes. I mean,
So
you're not
having
really in your
that
right
information,
mind. Yeah.
yeah, oh, it's awful. And it makes that person very vulnerable to the con artists and the people with bad intentions. It also makes them vulnerable to very well-meaning family members who just don't know what they're talking about, but
Exactly. I
moving
mean,
in and giving advice.
people just need that helping hand. And really it's something you say, you want to pass along wisdom, not necessarily wealth, right?
Well, we'd love to see you pass your wealth, obviously, but don't limit it to that. Pass on the wisdom too. And these uncomfortable conversations can be a way of sharing the wisdom. You can talk about your experiences, your financial experiences, your wins, the things that have gone well for you, lessons that you've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And that implies that you're going to be talking about values. And that's money wisdom that can't be shared in any other way in a document. That documents are very cold and again checking boxes
Yes.
once they're implemented. But these conversations, I sometimes compare them to family recipes. I
Right.
absolutely love to cook, and I come from family that loves food is very important to us. And so as the family recipes have been passed along through generations, also the stories of the experiences of cooking and gathering and eating and did you grow the tomatoes in the backyard or did you shop for them at the supermarket? All of the things that go along with that kind of identifies the culture in the family. And if we can think about family recipes or something similar in the way that families share information, kind of frames how these conversations may go as well.
Exactly. I mean, food always brings you together, but what happens when you don't cook?
You gotta eat.
I know that's me. So, well, Catherine, thank you so much. This is, I mean, to be continued because there's so much to talk about this, but I thank you so much for this advice. And it's just a really good reminder for me. I've got some work to do. So I just thank you so much.
You are welcome, and the listeners of the Women's Eye are welcome to reach out to us through our website. We're always, if you would like just those little sparking conversation starters, a variety of things, we're always happy to share. This is such a great and important topic.
Oh,
Thank you for the
absolutely.
opportunity of evangelizing a bit.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Now, of course, if you want to know more about Catherine Scrivano and her great advice for everyone so that they can start having these conversations, you can just go to our website, thewomenseye.com, and we've got Catherine and CASCO Financial Group's contact right there. Hey, and then you'll also find our books, 20 Women Changemakers. You can just shop wherever you buy books and at changemakersbook.com. And we have another one, and 20 Women Storytellers at womenstorytellersbook.com. Now, don't forget to rate, review us on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our newsletter and YouTube channel. Again, thank you, Catherine, and to all of you for tuning in to the Women's Eye podcast. We hope this helps you build your money power. I'm Stacey Gualandi. Remember, it's the world as we see it.